Hashtag script. Imagine you're a child, 6 years old, watching your favorite afternoon cartoon in your living room. The episode ends, a puppet appears on screen, leans toward the camera, and whispers your full name. Then it whispers your home address. And you have no memory of this ever happening. Between 1983 and 1991, this happened to dozens of children across Western Bulgaria. And we can prove it, because the tapes still exist. This is a story I almost didn't cover. Not because of a lack of evidence, there's more evidence here than in most cases I've investigated. I almost didn't cover it because the deeper I went, the less I wanted to understand what I was finding. There's something about this case that resists explanation in a way that doesn't feel accidental. It feels designed. So let me take you through it, piece by piece, the same way I found it. And I'll let you decide what was really happening on Bulgarian state television for 8 years while nobody seemed to notice, or nobody seemed to care. The show was called, which translates roughly to Evening Fairy Tale. If you grew up in Bulgaria during the socialist period, you know this program. It was a national institution, a brief children's segment that aired just before bedtime, every single night, on Bulgarian national television, Channel 1. Think of it as the Bulgarian equivalent of a goodnight story broadcast to the entire country. Gentle puppets, soft music, little moral fables. Every kid watched it. Every parent trusted it. But here's what most Bulgarians don't know. In the western broadcast regions, primarily the districts surrounding Sofia, Pernik, and Chisinau, there was a recurring segment that aired not every night, but approximately once every 2 to 3 weeks, between October 1983 and March 1991. The segment featured a puppet that didn't appear in any other part of the show. Station logs from the Bulgarian National Television Archive refer to it only as Stari Gost. Old guest. The puppet itself is deeply unsettling, even by the standards of 1980s Eastern European children's television, which, if you've ever explored that particular rabbit hole, you know is already a high bar. Stari Gost appears to be an elderly male figure, hand-operated, with a carved wooden head. The face is painted in muted flesh tones, but the proportions are wrong in a way that's hard to articulate. The eyes are set slightly too far apart, the mouth doesn't move when it speaks. Instead, the jaw remains fixed and the voice seems to emanate from somewhere behind or beside the puppet, not from it. The puppet wears what appears to be a dark, shapeless coat and is always filmed against a completely black background. No set. No props. Just the puppet and the void. Each segment lasted between 90 seconds and 3 minutes. Stari Gost would appear, address the camera directly, and tell a short, meandering story. The stories themselves are banal to the point of being hypnotic, descriptions of weather, of trees, of the sound of wind through an empty house. There's no narrative arc. No moral. No beginning, middle, or end. Just a slow, monotone recitation of sensory details that seems designed to do one thing, hold attention. And then, in the final 15 seconds of every segment, Stari Gost would lean closer to the camera. The lighting would dim slightly. And it would whisper a child's name. A full name. First name, family name. Followed by a street address. Let me say that again, because I need you to understand the weight of it. A puppet on state television, broadcast into the homes of thousands of families, would end each appearance by whispering the real, verified name and home address of a real child living in the broadcast area. This is not an urban legend. This is not a creepypasta. In 2017, a media preservation project at Sofia University began digitizing damaged archives of Bulgarian national television programming from the socialist and early post-socialist periods. Among the materials recovered were 14 intact recordings of the Stari Gost segments, spanning from 1985 to 1990. The names whispered in those 14 segments were cross-referenced with civil registration records. Every single one matched a real child who was between the ages of 4 and 8 at the time of broadcast and who lived at the address spoken on air. 14 tapes. 14 real children. 14 matches. The statistical probability of this being coincidental is, effectively, 0. Now here are the 5 things that nobody has been able to explain. 1. The segment's origin. Bulgarian national television kept detailed production logs throughout this period. Every segment, every contributor, every cost, meticulously recorded, as was standard in a state-controlled media apparatus. The Stary Gost segments are listed in the broadcast schedule. They appear in the programming logs. But they are categorized as externally sourced material. There is no corresponding contract. No invoice. No payment record. No name of a production company, an individual creator, a puppeteer, a voice actor, or a writer. The tapes appear to have simply arrived at the station and been slotted into the broadcast rotation. No one currently employed at BNT can explain how this was possible within the bureaucratic structure of the time. 2. The voice. Audio analysis of the 14 recovered segments reveals something that linguists at Sofia University described as profoundly unusual. The voice speaking the stories, the body of each segment, has consistent characteristics: male, estimated age 50 to 65, speaking standard Western Bulgarian dialect. But the voice that whispers the child's name at the end of each segment does not match. It's not simply a shift in volume or tone. Spectrographic analysis shows different fundamental frequency patterns, different formant structures, different breath patterns. It is, by every measurable metric, a different voice. As if someone else, or something else, takes over for those final 15 seconds. 3. The children's names. How were they obtained? In the 1980s, Bulgarian civil registration records were held at the municipal level and were not publicly accessible. Accessing a child's full name and home address would have required either direct access to government records or direct surveillance of individual families. 14 confirmed names across 5 years, spread across 3 districts, suggest systematic access to protected information. No investigation has been able to determine the source. 4. The broadcast pattern. The segments didn't air on a regular schedule, but analysis of the 14 recovered broadcast dates reveals something that researchers initially dismissed as coincidence. Every single confirmed Stary Gost broadcast fell within 3 days of a new moon. Every one. Over a span of 5 years. This could be meaningless. It could be a scheduling quirk. But it is a pattern, and in a case with this few answers, patterns matter. 5. The children themselves. And this is where the story becomes something I'm not sure I have a framework for. Beginning in 2018, journalists and researchers attempted to contact the individuals whose names appeared in the 14 recovered segments. They were now adults, aged roughly between 32 and 43. Of the 14, 11 were located. 2 had died, one in a car accident in 2003, one of an unspecified illness in 2011. One could not be traced. Of the 11 surviving individuals contacted, 9 agreed to speak with researchers. And here is what they said. 3 things came up in almost every conversation, independently, without prompting. First, every single one of them reported chronic, severe sleep disturbances that began in childhood and persisted into adulthood. Insomnia. Night terrors. Episodes of sleep paralysis. Several had been treated clinically. 2 had been prescribed medication they still take daily. None had a family history of sleep disorders. Second, none of them remembered the Stary Gost segments. Not one. Several were avid viewers of as children and could recall other segments, other puppets, other stories in detail. But when shown the recovered footage that ends with their own name being whispered on screen, they reported no recognition whatsoever. One woman described the experience of watching her segment as, and I'm quoting from the translated interview, like watching something happen to a person who doesn't exist yet. Third, and this is the detail that I keep coming back to, the one that sits in my mind like a stone, several of the named individuals reported that they have limited or no autobiographical memory from the specific years the show aired. Not childhood amnesia in the general sense. Specific, localized gaps. One man could remember 1982 and 1992 in detail but described the years between as a white room. A woman said that her memories from ages 5 through 9 feel like they belong to someone else, like I was told about them. I want to be careful here. I'm not a psychologist. Memory is fragile, malleable, and notoriously unreliable. Childhood amnesia is well documented. The act of being contacted by researchers and told that your name was whispered by a puppet on state television when you were 6 years old is, itself, a potentially destabilizing experience that could distort recall. But 9 out of 9. The same cluster of symptoms. Independently reported. That is not nothing. So what was Starry Ghost? The comfortable explanation is that this was some kind of bureaucratic anomaly. A puppeteer with connections to the state apparatus who managed to slip unauthorized content into the broadcast schedule for nearly a decade. Someone with access to civil records who, for reasons unknown, decided to whisper children's names on television. A strange hobby. An eccentric act by a disturbed individual operating within the gaps of a collapsing socialist system. The new moon pattern, coincidence. The memory gaps, ordinary childhood amnesia amplified by suggestion. The different voice on the whispered names, a production quirk. That explanation accounts for some of the facts. It does not account for all of them. The less comfortable explanation is that someone, or some group, was using a children's television program as a delivery mechanism for something we don't fully understand. The structure of the segments, the droning, repetitive, sensory-rich monologues followed by the personalized whisper, bears a disquieting resemblance to documented hypnotic induction techniques. Was Starry Ghost an experiment? Was it a prototype for something that was tested on children in a region of a country that, at the time, was firmly within the sphere of a government known to have invested heavily in psychoactive and psychological research programs? The Bulgarian secret services, the Darzhavna Sigurnost, were deeply intertwined with KGB operations throughout this period. Documents declassified after 1991 confirm Bulgarian participation in joint research programs that remain only partially disclosed to this day. I'm not stating this as fact. I'm stating it as a possibility that the evidence does not rule out. And then there is a third possibility, one that doesn't have a name, one that the researchers and journalists who have touched this case tend to circle around without landing on. It's the possibility suggested by the tapes themselves, by the puppet's empty, unmoving face, by the voice that isn't the voice, by the way Starry Ghost leans toward the camera in those final seconds as if it knows exactly who is watching. It's the possibility that whatever this was, it worked. That it did what it was designed to do. And that the children it named were changed by it in ways that can be measured but not explained. The segment stopped airing in March of 1991, just months before the full dissolution of the structures that had governed Bulgaria for decades. No announcement. No final episode. Starry Ghost simply never appeared again. The tapes sat in a deteriorating archive for 26 years before anyone thought to look at them. Whoever created those segments has never come forward. No one has ever claimed credit, offered an explanation, or acknowledged involvement. The puppet itself has never been found. It is not in the BNT-Prop archives. It is not in any museum or private collection that has been identified. It simply does not exist anymore, if it ever existed as a physical object at all. 11 people are alive today who heard their names whispered from a television screen when they were children. They don't remember it. But they haven't slept well since. I've laid everything out for you. The tapes are real. The names are real. The gaps in the records are real. The gaps in memory are real. And the absence at the center of this story, the empty space where a creator, a motive, an explanation should be, that's real too. So what do you think really happened? Who was behind Starry Ghost, and what were they trying to do to those children? Leave your theory below. Because I don't have one that covers all of it. And I'm not sure anyone does.